See, everything I thought about heaven was totally wrong. I thought Peter at the gate. That ain't true. He didn't have clothes like I did. He had a gown on. How you know the people is clothes. The clothes of office. Like if in the military, you know a general when you see him. You know a colonel when you see him. You know a lieutenant colonel when you see him. A full bird colonel. You know, and that clothes of office dictates their position there in heaven. But this man had a gown. There was another angel who said, let me guide you. Now, people were lining up, heading for that city as fast as they could, but they didn't have gowns. Some of them had gowns, but most of them had big robes on, gorgeous robes with top stitching. Beautiful stuff. I mean, and I thought, man, look at the clothes in it. But all of a sudden, I saw the people with the gowns, they kind of get close, and they'd get out of line. And the angels would move them over to where the river of life was. And they would eat a piece of fruit and take the leaves and do this. And I said, well, they're not going to go to the throne? He said, yes. He said, the great God Jehovah is merciful. But they didn't live the way they were supposed to live. But the great God Jehovah was merciful. They will learn and eventually get to the throne. And I thought, man, I am something going wrong with me. I'm hearing something. And then when I got back, I checked it out in the book of Isaiah. He said he gives us a garment of salvation and a robe of righteousness, which is totally two separate things. And I physically saw that with my own eyes. That's in the book of Isaiah. You ought to go read it. It's a garment of salvation, which means to show that they were saved, and a robe of righteousness. Now, as I thought, man, I'm looking like that. And I was thirsty. The angel said, you thirsty? I said, yes. He said, I'll get you some water. And this man said, I'll get him the water. And I looked. Oh, my shoulder. I get goosebumps. Excuse me a minute. Whew. He's thick barrel-chested man. He said, hello, Jesse. I'm your father in the faith. I'm Abraham. I went, and he's thick barrel-chested, big man. You ought to seen his clothes. You talk about a general. This boy was more than a 4-star, 5-star, 10-star. See, everything I thought about heaven was totally wrong. I thought Peter at the gate. That ain't true. No, you know, just people saying all that kind of stuff. The first person you meet is your father of faith, Abraham. He said, you thirsty? I said, yes. He said, let me get you some water. He had a goblet with sapphire and diamond and emerald. I thought, wow, God, look at that cup. He said, drink this. And I was dehydrated, and I would do this. And I said, what's happening? He said, you're going to have to eat some fruit so you can withstand the glory of God. And that's why I knew I was in my physical body. Because if I was in a vision, I wouldn't have got weak, you know, or spirit body or something like that. I mean, I would do this and not do that. And the angel said, you okay? He said, and I started talking to him. And I just had a wonderful time. I want to just stay there and talk. And the angel said, we must move on. You have an appointment with the Most High God. I saw a man, the only other person other than Jesus that had a crown, he had a red beard, and that was King David. I saw him from afar. And Jesus assigned him to bring me to my house. But I'm going ahead of myself right now, but we'll get to that in just a minute. So he gave me, and we started talking faith. Now, I didn't put this in. I said, how'd you do it? I said, how'd you do it? Abraham, how could you lay your boy down? He said, well, I had a choice, but I chose the right choice. He said, just like you. I said, oh, I didn't do nothing what you did. He said, yes, you have. He said, you don't know how God judges you until you get there. You think, well, I'm just a normal little Christian about this. Oh, but God has a different scale of moving and touching people. Like we think, this and that. We thinking God is far above all that. So I'm just talking to, and he hugged me and he laughed. And I thought, I'm being hugged by Abraham. And I just couldn't get over that. I was just sitting there, and the angel said, Jesse. They didn't call me Brother Jesse. They They didn't call me Reverend Jesse. They didn't call me Reverend Doctor or brother. They just called me Jesse. That's what Jesus called me, Jesse. I never called him Reverend Christ. I just called him Jesus. First name basis. And I was trying to do something for the angel, and he said, no, we're servants here. I said, Abraham, let me do it. He said, no, we're servants here. We serve each other. You have an appointment with God Almighty. It's exciting. And I said, listen, we need to talk more. I said, can I stay here a while? No, they keep you on schedule, you know what I'm saying?